Hey guys, welcome to another episode. I apologize for the fans. It is a hot afternoon here. I think it is officially, it is 95 degrees, which means the garage is probably closer to 100. So fans are going, trying to cool it off in here. But today we are attacking our front control arm and steering assembly. We're gonna be taking all this out today. We have to replace our crossmember. So in order to get to that crossmember, we have to take all this off. The lower control arm. You don't necessarily have to remove the top, but if we're already in here, we're gonna get that taken out also. So we're gonna do a quick video, well, hopefully quick, on how to get this all taken off. A few things you're gonna need. An impact, if you've got one, it's gonna make a big difference. An assortment of different size sockets. I also have a nice persuasion hammer, and we're gonna have a few other pieces. I happen to have a lubricant, as always. I happen to have an air impact gun, an air gun, an air hammer, and that's going to make a lot of savings when it comes to time. The other thing you're going to need is a pickle fork, which I think I need to grab, but you're going to need one of those to get the ball joints off on our steering arms, steering rods here. So let me get you guys a better angle, and we're going to start attacking this and getting this taken apart. So don't mind all the mess underneath the car. Is kind of where I keep the parts out of the way because we're working in such a tight space. But we're going to be moving this nut here. This is a 17 millimeter. We're going to make sure we get all of these soaked while we're here. I did these yesterday too, so there's no reason we should have any issues. Just in case. Never have too much. So we're going to take these off. Noise alert, 17 millimeter. Alright, that one's off. Now sometimes you can leave the nut on here, just thread it in a little bit and use a hammer to get that off. But if it's really stuck, you'll need what's called a pickle fork, which is one of these. You can see it's got a slope here, and you actually fit it underneath the ball joint here, and you can hammer that in. You can hammer it in, but I've got the air hammer, which will hopefully make that process much smoother and faster. So we're gonna line it up here, get it in there as much as I can. Noise alert, so be ready for that. Alright, so that was relatively easy. Sometimes they fight you more than that, but it's nice to have this to really get a good solid grip on it and then finish it up with a good few taps, and it comes right out. So now that that's free, we can tuck it out of the way here, and we're going to start working on the control arms. Now, get you in here. There's a couple ways you can attack this. You can either get these nuts out, which are pretty difficult, these large nuts, but what I like to do is get these off the top ball joint. So we're going to get those off, and we're also going to need to release the shock, which is inside the spring here. There's a 13 or a 14 millimeter nut on the top, which is in the engine compartment. We're going to get that unscrewed first, and then that way this will drop on us. One thing you want to be careful is this spring. There is tension on this spring. So as you start loosening pieces, it's going to start releasing. So it's just one thing to be mindful of. But let me get that nut undone on the top real quick. So we're going to be looking right in here. You can see the top of our shock here. There's a regular nut and a lock nut on top, and they're a 14 millimeter. So I've got my 14 millimeter ratcheting wrench here. It comes off just like that. So let's get these out and get this taken care of. Okay, now that we've got that shock unhooked on the top, there's no more pressure holding this together. So we're going to take away these three 13 millimeter nut and bolt combinations. And once we do, that pressure of the spring is going to start to release. So we have our jack underneath. You can kind of see here this red jack. we're gonna have this underneath to hold that pressure. That way when we release this, we can let it down easy so it doesn't hurt us or anybody around us. Be very, very careful when you do this. This can be very dangerous and you can really hurt yourself. So really take your time. Now that we've got that released, all the tension is on our jack. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slowly release it and be very patient. Don't rush it. You can see all the pressure that's on it, so you gotta be very careful. Not too fast. Okay, much safer doing it that way than doing it by hand. So the next thing you're gonna wanna do now that the tension is off is we'll be able to get that up and we'll be able to pull the spring out as soon as we get the nut and bolt combination off the bottom. If I remember correctly, I think, yes, they are 17s. There we go. Now the shock should be able to go straight down. Just like that. That out of our way. As always, we keep our stuff together. And now there should be hardly any tension on that spring. And that is why you're always careful, because I got you. So, that is why you're cautious and always out of the way. But it is out, and we still have all of our appendages, so we are good. Be careful. Always be careful. Now the easy part. Now that we're all safe and sound and the spring is out of the way, what we need to do is remove this plastic liner that's in the wheel well here. There's a couple nuts, screws holding it in here. All I can see is one right here and it's super small. So we're just gonna get that out if we can. It's the little ones that give you the hardest time. Little tiny thing. I mean, that can't be all of it. guess that's all that was holding it in. Just tucked inside the lip here, so nothing really to it. So this is going to be a 7/8 here on the end. This is for our upper control arm. Looks like I need to get another one. They're just spinning. I'll grab my other one. All right, now we've got that in place. I like getting the big one out of the way first, so we're not tripping over it. Just like that. And as always, we make sure we keep our hardware together. Just like that. And this should come straight out. Just like that. And you can see just how bad that is and how much repair that really needs. I mean, that is totally gone on that one. So we definitely need to replace these and repress them. Now on the bottoms, we've got 19 millimeters, which are going to be these here underneath. We've already got those sprayed down, so we'll be able to use our impact to get them out. Well, maybe not. That one, yes. The other one isn't quite deep enough. Maybe we'll be able to grab it. That's those two, and our lower control arm and the assembly should be able to come off really easily. Now what you're going to want to be careful for is on here, these might have shims, and mine has shims. They're alignment shims. They're meant to help you with aligning your wheels. So we want to make sure we pull this off nice and easy, that way we don't lose any of those shims in a certain order they're in. Just like that. And that is all completely free. No big deal. As always, be careful with that spring, because you definitely don't want to hurt yourself with that. These are those shims I'm telling you about. Here's one here, and here's one here. There's two different kinds of styles. This one happens to be on here. And these are your alignment shims. So you always want to make sure you remember which side had what. So we'll make sure to remember that the passenger side had the skinny one first, and then the tab. And on the other side I've already done, and that one's got it also. And that one's right here. So you see it's got a washer, thicker washer here, and the other one fell, but it goes right here. So here's another one of them. It goes right here. And that's how it is spaced, and that helps you with your alignment. Just don't lose them like I am, because they go on in a certain order. So just be careful with these and don't lose them. So the next thing we're going to do in order to remove this cross member, now that we have all the assembly out of the way, is there's 4 bolts, or 4 nuts, 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side. There's one here behind where the spring sits, the spring perch, got one there. And on the back side of this one, you can see here very easily, there's a nut to it. So those are the 4 that are holding it on, and you can see why we need to replace this, right? Nice big cut, that is no good. Got to get rid of that. So we're going to pull this one out. Really straightforward and simple. 6 bolts hold that on, so let's get it out. Now we can see how dirty and gross this was and just how deep that cut is. And when you look at it, one side is higher than the other. So that one's in really bad shape, and I'm glad it's coming out. These bolts also, if you look at those, that one's got all sorts of rust on it, and this one does too, but there's no pitting, which is great, very minimal, if any at all. So that means that we can really clean these up and these should be good to go. But yeah, this one looks, glad it's coming out. Definitely dirty and gross. And this is in it. Don't know how that got there. So glad this is coming out. Much needed to come out. You can see where these are starting to go bad also. So we've got different motor mounts, so I'm glad that's out. Now we can get the other one in, clean it up, put it in, and then we don't have to worry about it. So you see our old Crossmember compared to our new, lines up really nice. We don't have our motor mounts on yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to get to them through an access hole on the bottom. That's what these holes are here. Go straight to the motor mounts. But what I'm hoping to do is to get them started by hand here. That way I don't have to try and feed the nut and lock washer all the way from the bottom. So if I can get from the bottom, just want to make sure I don't need the washer on there. Yeah, okay. So we're going to feed these on here. This is a tricky part. Maybe one at a time. That's one. I don't know if it's going to stay on or not. It's kind of just going in blind, really. There we go. Alright, get that started. And on the exhaust side, we've got our heat shield. So you need to make sure we include that underneath here when we put that on. So that one's started. Onto this side. One at a time. Oh, it wasn't so bad. All right, we'll get those on there. And then we'll flip this so we can work on it from the end. Alright, now that we've got our new Crossmember in, we have our bottom two 17mm nuts. They're torqued to 40 foot-pounds. There's a washer, a lock washer, then the nut on both sides. And our main bolt here that goes all the way through into the Crossmember, that's torqued to 70 foot-pounds. 70 on those, 40 on these. And our new Crossmember is in. We'll get a nice look from the top. Oh yeah, much better. Nice black. The motor mounts are loosely in there. We can still adjust these and fiddle with them when it comes time to putting the engine in, so they're not locked in place. Makes it a little easier when it comes to setting that engine in here. You can see we're nice and clean, all cleaned up. Much better than the one with the cut in there. So this one is set and ready to go. Much better. You can see on this side as well. All in there. Much better. Okay guys, and that's how easy it is to replace your Crossmember and take apart your front suspension all the way down, taking it completely off. It helps for us because our engine is already out. Replacing that Crossmember with the engine in there is going to be practically impossible. You could do it, but would you really want to risk it? It'd just be easier just to pull that engine out and do it. Since ours is already out, it was a pretty straightforward process. Just a little bit of cleaning, a good swap, make sure all the bolts are taken care of and no crazy damage on them or anything like that. Torqued them in and we're all set. So all we have to do now is wait for our next parts to come in to rebuild our front suspension there. We'll need up control arms, and we'll also be getting our lowering spring kit. I'll be able to show you guys how to install those as lowering springs, as well as those sports performance shocks from Vic Auto that we got in stock already ready to go. So until next time guys, make sure you subscribe, like, comment. I appreciate it. It helps support the channel a lot. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and our Facebook page at Garage Time TV, and I'll see you there.